So today's session will be presented by our VP of Engineering, Dr. Anil Kumar, and our CEO, Mr. Rejith Krishnan, who has traveled all the way from USA for this event. So both have a wealth of experience in IT, over 35 years in the field, and they'll be driving this event over the next hour or so. So I would like to invite Dr. Anil to take up the stage. Thank you.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. So I just introduce myself. Basically, we did BTech in computer science way back in 90. There was one TKM Engineering College. So in those days, even we had a paper like artificial intelligence, AI. And we used to have some small notes and some small books which we used to learn. And we used to learn a programming language like Lisp to program AI. And we used to do projects. Those projects were like, to recognize a character, printed or handwritten character, a single character. It used to be one project for 6 months, wherein, let's say you have handwritten A. To recognize this A using neural networks or AI, we used to spend a lot of programming efforts building that model and then using it. It was a tedious job, right? And years have gone. It's almost 35 years have gone. AI was developing, but we are seeing a change. Like AI is delivering something, AI is doing something, AI is giving us results, AI is revolutionizing the enterprises and their actions. That's in the last few years, well, maybe 1 or 2 years. So that's when we started working with clients, building platform, like platform engineering, which is like managing their infrastructure, automating their operations, and then managing their databases, data, etc., etc. So that's when clients started asking. So for example, for one of our banks, they were archiving large amount of logs, which was coming from hundreds of applications, which are aggregated, and the centralized log management system was keeping all that. And the volume of that data was like 2 terabytes per day. It was huge, and it started growing, and it became 3 terabytes and 4 terabytes. Now the question the CTO asked is like, okay, I have so much of data. Now, what insight, what intelligence you can build, by using this data, so that I get to know what is happening in these applications. Are there any issues? Are there any anomalies? Are there any errors, which is repeatedly coming in? Or are there any timeouts? Or are these APIs taking more time, to respond back? Or can you connect these entities, like these log entries between the applications, correlate it, and then derive some insight to us? Or at least, can you provide us, an RCA, root cause analysis? When there is an issue, I say like, my web banking was slow during this period of time. Can you analyze it and tell us, okay, what was the root cause? How did it happen? So can you also recommend a solution? How do you resolve it? So similarly, multiple clients asked different requirements, came up with it. And there was some key components for each of these enterprises. They had challenges. Right? The challenges were mostly, if you take banks, insurance companies, and then healthcare, their key challenges are like, one is they have data, a lot of data, as I said, logs or, other piece of data is there, which is like, you cannot directly use it in your model to train the model or to derive insights into it. So you need to organize the data. So that was one challenge. And then almost all these bigger enterprises had legacy systems where it's very hard to integrate with it, interface with it, and then use your model to derive insights. And then they are scared of compliance, RBI guidelines, and other regulatory requirements. They were also concerned about okay, we created everything, we showed a POC. Then the question was like how will it behave, like, in ethical, how do you ensure that it is not biased? So if I have created a loan, approval system using an agent, AI agent, how do you ensure that this AI agent is not approving loans from a specific region, let's say, or from a specific age group, or from a specific, some other attribute? So those questions, they wanted to answer those things, and they wanted to have auditability. Like, when the RBI auditors or the other auditors come in, they want to audit their systems and tell them this is what happened. So that they want to explain, how did you arrive at a particular conclusion or a result. So there were key challenges, which they were facing. So that's when, we started off thinking of providing a platform which can be completely run within their enterprise, within their network, or within their account, with all the necessary components for an AI model or an AI agent, which may include LLMs, which may include, other LSTMs, or which may include tools, which may include, all the necessary interfacing, etc. And even the researchers, including Gartner or, people like Elon Musk or Forrester, everybody predicts that, in the going years, like for example, maybe in the few upcoming 1 or 2 years, things are going to change. And more people are going to use AI and ML, and more investments are going to happen. And at the same time, maybe more and more unemployment, employments may be replaced with AI agents. So all these are trends which are going up. And then I just also want to mention on the employment side of it, where, when we created it like an AI agent, it's like a role or an assistant to a role initially, or finally, it's going to replace a role or a person doing a particular type of work in that particular enterprise. So it will happen. So what will happen? Let's take the case of programmers. So the AI agents will be capable of doing a low level, the first level of coding. So the entry level coders may be replaced first, and then the experienced people will still be there, wherein they will be reviewing the code, they will be verifying the code generated by the AI, and there are things happening in that direction. So this can replace. So you can see like a lot of positions or jobs can be replaced by AI agents, because it's so powerful now. It's so customizable, it's so usable, it's so, flexible. I mean, you have it available there. And those are some of other things. So now, while you think like a lot of AI things are happening out there, so we have found that agentic AI, that's the next frontier. Because research, and the results are there, like McKinsey or Key Insight predictions are there, which says like in the coming years this is going to grow. And then also we compared it with similar technologies like RAG, or when you use chatbots. The power, we started with chatbots. Like the problem there, it's purely rule based, and it's limited to predefined responses. And then we started using RAG. It's a retrieval augmented generation, where LLMs are combined with the data. Whatever data you have, you used it, and then you ask questions to that. And then the next generation is agentic AI, where it has more power. It's goal-oriented. You can define, workflows. You can define actions. It can do actions. So it's like any other person. Like you have an HR agent. So we have agents like an HR agent, which is like an HR manager. Whatever HR manager does or HR assistant does, the agent can do it for you. You can chat with your HR system and get the things done. So the agenda is like, we have through our research, through our experience, through our discussions with multiple clients, finally we created an agentic AI platform. And with, currently we have so many agents which are already created. And some of the examples I would highlight before we go to the architecture and the actual demo. One is SRE agent, like infrastructure people. There are SRE L1 support or SRE people who monitor the environment, the utilization, they analyze the logs. These activities are done by the SRE agents. Now we have an SRE AI agent which can do the same task for you. And we have an invoice processing agent wherein, once you give the invoice, it reads all the information. It connects to the ERP system, checks for the vendors and the related information. If everything matches, it creates the invoice in the system, in the ERP system. If it is not matching, it will queue it up in a draft, and then later you can take it and process. Human intervention is required there. And then a Webshop is an online webshop which we'll demo today. And FinOps is where you have cloud accounts. You can connect to your cloud account, get all the details. What are the services used? What is the billing? Is there an anomaly? You can compare it with the previous month bill. How can you optimize it? What options are there in the cloud? Or between cloud, you can compare the cost and see, is it good to migrate from one cloud like AWS to Akamai or not? So that's another example. Loan agent is like, an auto loan agent where you can get the customer information, you can get the EMI schedule, you can get the overdue loans. Like any financial institution, an auto loan module, you can chat with that. And HR agent, as I said, you can get the employee information, employee history, their reports, who is the manager, all that. Now, all that we did by using a platform which is no code and which is private. So we didn't directly connect to the database. We didn't took all the data out of the database. We didn't train it, using, processed set of data. Nothing is done. That's a unique feature of our architecture. So I'll invite Rejith to continue with the architecture and then take you through the demo for the Webshop. Thank you, Chris.
Good afternoon, everyone. So my job here is to kind of get into the technology side of it. I'm going to switch my laptop and then we'll start. So I want to first stress a point that Anil made, which is the generation of or advances we made during the last maybe 2.5 years. We all saw the ChatGPT coming, and when it started, we were chatting with ChatGPT, and what was happening was when we type something, it is generating the answer directly from the LLM. So that was the first model that was able to answer questions. From there, one second, we went to RAG. How many of you heard about RAG? Okay, so from directly talking to the LLM, where the LLM is generating the answer based on your question, RAG is where you enhance the question by adding a PDF or some document. So it is basically taking additional information from you and coming back with the output. So that is RAG. And we use RAG for so many use cases today, attached to what we call as context. And the LLM will use the PDFs that we supply, and then include that in the generation of the output. So that could be, a good example would be, let's say you got a PDF document of an agreement, a contract. You attach that to the chat, and this you can do in OpenAI, Grok, Gemini. So what it is doing is it is taking the content of the PDF into context, and then it's taking your answer or instruction and generating the output. So that was RAG, which is the second generation of the LLM explosion that we see. From there, we went to Agentic. Today we're going to focus on Agentic. Agentic is where it is the next level of RAG, where we have the PDF or whatever context that it has. It can actually take actions. It's not just answering questions. Instead, it is connected to systems like databases, APIs, and it can actually take an action based on the instruction you're giving it. So that's what we're going to see today. So let me connect my laptop. So here, so we developed a platform that can take the instructions from a prompt or from an API call to an agent, then put the instructions, additional training steps, and APIs and actions into context, and then actually call those APIs. So if you look at this architecture diagram, on the right-hand side, you can see different systems that we usually deal with, like email, Jira, ServiceNow, Confluence, SharePoint sites, APIs, and even the catalogs and metrics and logs from systems. Now, an agentic platform, so take this as kind of a reference architecture. This is what we implemented, but this is the same thing that you will see in any agentic platforms. So what it does is here, over here on the right-hand side, we have an appliance that we developed. And any agentic platform, you will see the same thing. So on the left-hand side, you have agents that are supported by models with a chat interface or an API interface, talking to endpoints like what we're familiar with, like email systems and APIs. Now, how does agents work? It uses an algorithm called React, which is React reasoning and acting. So what I would like you to do is research on that. And later in the Q&A session, we can explain what that means as well. But the idea is, using the instructions that you're giving, it will use a reasoning algorithm and come up with a plan and act. That's what React is all about. So the goal is to, once you have given access to one or more of these systems, it will then take the instruction, come up with the individual steps, then write the code using the CodeAct algorithm and executes the steps. So that's the core of any agentic system. And that's what we have implemented as well. So now let's look at an example. I'm going to show you a demo. So here we're going to use the Webshop agentic or agent running in our platform. So here what we did is, on the right-hand side, we kind of narrowed it down to certain policy documents and an API. And I'll show you the API in a minute. What this does is, the agent is created, the name of the agent is Webshop. It will basically learn from the policies. It's not a very complicated policy, it's just few instructions or few pages of policies. And it will learn from an API, and you will see when I ask something, it will actually generate the code and make a call to API. So for that, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to show you the API. So this is a simple Swagger endpoint. It's written in Fast API. And if you can see, it has customer information, address information, product information, and order information of a web application or website or web e-commerce application. So now, let's open some of these, right? So if you look at category, it has a little bit of description here. It has parameters. And if you randomly open any of these, right, there is sufficient information in there. The agent that we're going to demo today is learning from these instructions. So that's it. We are not writing any code. By looking at this interface, it is learning how to write the code, call this, and get the work done. So let's go to our agent. So again, the interface I'm showing you here is this guy here, right? This API call. And that is the Fast API endpoint. And we have a few instructions that we've given it. And we created this agent. Here is, let me make sure that my login is valid. Now I'll be switching back and forth between slide and this, right? So I'm going to show you this interface, which is a chat interface to this agent. This is the Webshop agent. So here you can see I just logged in. This is the agent name, right? And this is connected to this, sorry. It is connected to this API, and I'm going to give it some instructions and see what it can do, right? So at first, so I'm using some samples that are already embedded here. I can type in here anything I want here also, but I'm going to use one of these. So let's see this one, right? So here I'm saying, show me the order details of 788, which I know it's an order number. Include stock availability, customer details, and highlight any articles that are out of stock. This agent can make a call to the API, write whatever code is necessary, make the call, give me the result. So let's do that. It's thinking. So it says, yeah, it called these API endpoints. Both of them are successful. Now it's probably formatting it. There it is. So here, I'm going to close the line of thought logging. So that's, by the way, it's called the line of thought logging. And below that, it is pulled the customer details, and it is printing here. All the articles are here. There is this particular order, which is order number 788. These are the items in that order. It was able to pull that, format it, and I also asked it to highlight any items that are out of stock. It did that also, right? So here it gave me the number, and here at the bottom, it gave me the availability, and it's highlighting that, this is out of stock. Okay? Now I can start chatting, so that's where I need to switch to the other one. Let me try. It pulled the data into the context using the API call, and this data is now available in the context, just like the way you would have attached the PDF, right? So now I can ask the agent to do more tasks. Like, for example, I can say compose an email to inventory to restock the missing item and get an ETA. So let's see what it does. So as you can see, this is more than RAG, where it is actually going to take action within the ecosystem where it is living in. So here I have given the API, and based on that API, it is making the call, it is pulling the data, and I'm able to give it tasks to do. Customer and order details. So I'm asking you to redo the email because I want more details in it. So now it reformatted it. So now I'm going to say, and it also, it has a subject, everything is good. So what I can do now is I can say, looks good, send it. So this agent, in addition to the API, I also gave it access to the email. So it has an outbox. So it is sending the email through the outbox. Okay, so it is being sent. So I'm redirecting all the emails. So let's go and look at the. There it is. So I'm redirecting all the emails to my inbox. So here is the email that it sent, right? Now let's take it a little bit further. So now I can also say, okay, now I got the ETA. So you can train an agent to look at the inbox for that reply and automatically reply as well, right? So I'm not going to do that here. Instead, I'm going to say I got the ETA. It's 12 days. Send email to customer. Again, all natural language interface, and it is doing everything using the React algorithm. And it is applying CodeAct wherever needed to generate the code. So it created an email to Patricia. It already figured out who the customer is, and it put all the information. Here again, I can edit it. I can say, include customer and order details. So it's recomposing it. Now, this looks good, so I'm just going to say, looks good, send it. Now, if you look at this workflow, now you can see agents can assist you in getting work done. So the way you want to look at an agent, and based on our experience also, it's basically a clone of a person that you want to help you with tasks. It could be any task that you do today. You or your team, you can think of any role. You can train an agent to do that for you. And you can start by interacting with it to complete a task. And then in our system, you can also say, hey, do this every day. For example, you can say something like, I like what you did now. Do it every day at 12 o'clock. Look at all the orders. If any of the orders have any out of the stock items, do it. So now you automated that flow, and it is now running in the backend. All that will be done by the agent without you writing any code. So that is one flow. Now let's switch to another flow. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open a new chat. So let's see if it can fix something, right? So I'm going to pull an order, 41. So we deliberately made some mistakes in our database. The shipping cost is actually incorrect in all these orders. Now I'm going to ask the agent to fix it. So you can see it's order number 41. You have all the details. Now the shipping cost is too low. By the way, we deliberately made this mistake. So now I'm going to say the shipping cost is incorrect. Fix it. So now what it is doing is, in the policy document I supplied, I told the agent how the shipping need to be calculated. So now it's using that into its consideration and coming up with the fix. So it says, in this case, I'm also introducing one more feature of any agentic platform, which is human in the loop. Because I don't want my agent to directly go and touch my database. So here what, I trained the agent to send me an OTP so that I will approve everything that the agent does. In the agentic world, it's called human in the loop. So what it did is, it sent me an OTP. Let's go grab the OTP. So here is the OTP. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to say, fix the shipping using OTP. Let's see what it is thinking. So it says OTP, I need to pass that again. Sometimes the OTP expires while we are talking. So I'm going to use the second one. OTP. So human in the loop is very important when you're doing agentic AI. So because you don't want mistakes getting into of agent making a mistake, because when you start an agent, so when you work with an agent, we always recommend to start by having a conversational interface first. Okay, before you ask the agent to do massive things, you always do a conversational interface. Using the conversation, it's like hiring an intern and giving all the training and saying, hey, go do this task, but you tell me how you're going to do it. I will review it before you actually do it. This is exactly how the agent also behaves. So all our agents are trained so that when there is a database update or an action that cannot be changed or that can affect the processing, you can ask it to send you an OTP so that you can review before you the change is applied. So here that's what it did. So if I'm open this, you can say OTP got validated and it was successful. So let's see if it actually did it. Okay, so we can open another chat. So when I open another chat, what's happening is it is now adding a new or going into a new context. So nothing we did is it's remembering now. So I'm going to say again, order 41. It is pulling the same record. Now it's pulling again from it's making an API call to pull it. So I'll see what value is there in the database. I can see the shipping cost is now the correct value, right? So this is an agent in action. Now I'll show you one more before I turn this over to Anil and team to show other demos. So these are some of the other things, like for example, here is the same agent helping me analyze the sales data. So I'm saying, show me December 2024 sales. For a action like this, we usually use some sort of reporting tool, maybe Power BI or Excel. So here it is pulling the data and going to plot a chart for me. There it is. So it pulled the data based on what I asked, plot the chart. Now, when you have an agent like this, right, I want to give you a bit of a background on how this works in our platform. And again, you can do the research. Most of the agentic platform works like this. Some of the important things that we implemented is it's no code, which means everything you saw here about Webshop, it's written complete in English. Behind the scenes, there is a YAML file that we use the agent to train itself. It is completely English. There is no code. It is using the React and the CodeAct algorithms to generate everything on the fly. And you don't have to see a single line of code. So that is unique to us. But if you were to look at other agentic platforms, it's not like that, but you can achieve the same. But here, everything is English. And all the instructions that you have in the YAML file for the agent is source controlled, which means today you can have version, say 0.5 of Webshop. Let's say you want to add a few more features to it. You create 0.06. You just push it through Git, merge it, review it, get it promoted. Now, everything is running. In our case, this is an appliance. Appliance in the sense, when you install it, it can run in a single VM, and that VM will have the agents. So when I say agents, it can be the agents that you create using English instructions, along with some of the pre-built agents that we already have. And some of them we'll show you. And some of those agents are also responsible for training new agents. It also gives you the chat interface, which I showed you today, which is a open AI-like interface where you can type and get familiar with your agents. Now, the same interface is also available through Open AI API. So we decided to use a standard API. When you're when your current applications want to call it through a programming interface, all you need to know is OpenAI's API. You can talk to our agent using that interface. Now, models, now our appliance is capable of running models within it. In that case, it would be Llama or Nemotron. Now, if you don't want to do that, and which means you don't want to invest in GPUs in the appliance, you have the option to host it by not having the GPU. Instead, give us an API key of OpenAI or Gemini, and we'll use that. Now, what it can learn. So when you want to start training an agent, what you're doing is hiring an intern, a virtual digital intern, and you're giving instructions to the intern. And as you're giving instructions, you need to understand what the task that it should be doing. For that task, what are the systems that it needs access to? And you give access to only those systems. For example, if you're creating an agent for just replying your emails, make sure that it has access to your email. And you can configure that in our YAML file. If you have, let's say you want to create an agent that is processing invoices for your ERP. So you create an agent and give access to post invoices into your ERP. And you can use an API token or OAuth to do that. So then you train it, you pass the PDFs to it, it will process it. So that covers my demo. Any questions to me?
Yeah, so is it possible to do it with synthetic data generated out of a GPT?
Good question. So we decided to train our agents through using metadata. So what you need is the metadata, meaning what columns are there, what format it comes out, and the description of each column. You can start working with our agents without any real data.
Okay, I'll give you some context
Sure.
with this. I'm basically from a psychology background. I have nothing to do with this tech background. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of having an AI agent for delivering certain psychological services and create a couple of psychometric assessments. Okay. So normally, especially when it comes to the counseling services, can that be done without real-time data? For example, if I'm doing a telephonic counseling, I can sense how the other person feels on the other end by listening to the voice, pace of the talk, all that stuff, and maybe the symptoms and things. The same thing, can it be done without real-time data? That is the question.
So when you're training in this particular situation, right?
Yeah.
So you are sensing it,
Yeah.
right? So there is some data there.
Yeah.
So the voice, the emotion is coming through the voice, and you are able to listen, right?
Yeah.
So you can still train an agent to do it, but you will need some sample.
Okay.
So for example, let's say you have 10 different scenarios you want to train the agent with.
Okay.
You will need recordings of those sessions.
Okay.
And you can either simulate it,
Okay.
or you can use real recordings anonymously,
Okay.
right? But it will need sample data.
That means we need sample data.
Yeah. In this case, because the reason is this is not really an agentic UI or agentic use case. It's a RAG use case.
Okay.
Because you have certain scenarios, so it's like it needs to basically pull that into the context and make a decision,
Okay.
right? So in that case, what we recommend is to take samples, and we train the agent to choose the right sample and make a decision. So it's more a RAG solution that you need, but it will need in that case what you're doing is you're training using sample data.
Okay.
Right? Now the other alternative is, let's say you have some sensors in that person,
Okay.
and you're completely basing it on the data from the sensor. Let's say they're wearing something on their wrist,
Okay.
right? In that case, you can really use Agentic. In that case, what happens is, it will send the data to an endpoint. The agent will listen to that endpoint on what data is coming in. Based on that, it can make decisions.
Okay.
So in that case, you can just tell them what kind of data is going to come, and what are the parameters to make a decision. And in most cases, you don't need a real-time data for that, or while training. But during the assessment, it will use the real-time data to make the decision, using the training that you gave in the original training part.
Okay.
So you can say, okay, when a particular variable is between x and y, that means this,
Oh, okay.
right? And the good thing about LLMs is that a lot of the knowledge is already there in the LLM. You might not have to train it, because this information might be there somewhere in some paper somewhere, right? So it will have some already embedded knowledge that you might be able to leverage. And then you put the guardrails, saying you might want to add certain customizations. That's how we train most of our models. So one of the advantages of using today's models is that they have a lot of knowledge. Like, for example, if you can go to ChatGPT and ask a question, it knows a lot of things already, right? You are leveraging that knowledge, and you're customizing it. That's what the agent is doing. So you're saying, okay, I only want to consider these ranges of data, and based on that, I want you to make these decisions. You can give them a formula. You can give them, your instructions in English text. So I'm just, giving you some ideas, but it is definitely something that you can do.
Okay, yeah, one more. Has this agentic AI reached a stage where it can pick the cultural sensitivity? Something like, you have individualistic culture in US. When it comes to India, we have a collectivistic culture. So can this pick cultural sensitive stuff?
It can, but you'll need to put the right guardrails and
Okay.
train it, right?
But it is possible.
It is possible.
Oh.
Yeah, we do that all the time when we come across a region. We give them specific instructions on how to generate the content or how to generate the responses.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's part of the training process. You need to do that.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Any other questions?
Example, when we get into this kind of UI, right? Anyone can actually perform all of these operations. I know that you talked about the OTP aspect, but can I kind of limit that certain people can only do certain kind of operations, right? I know that every chat has its own context and it doesn't really carry the session information along these different chats. So how do you manage that?
Good question. So what we do in our case, and that's a common, very common issue, and that need to be addressed, and we did that. And the way we did that is, we have two options. You either give the agent an API token with the right access. In that case, everyone connects to that the agent gets the same access. Now the other option is, it basically becomes a clone of you by using OAuth tokens. So it's taking your identity and using that identity to go make calls in the backend. So there are two options. One is use an API key with the right permissions, or two, you take your permissions and translate it to its permissions. So that means it will have the same thing that you do, not like the other person, right? So the other person will have a different access, it will use that access. Does that make sense?
So is it like that for every chat that you do, you'll be sharing the user information to the
No.
back?
So it is, so if the UI has a session, I logged in with my ID. So the UI knows who I am. So when the agent talks to the backend, it uses my identity. So it's like any web interface, right? The behind the scenes API calls are using my token. That's how it's getting my identity.
Hi. Hi. Hi.
Are you done? Yeah, okay, yeah.
Hi, thanks, and your agent is pretty impressive and it has a lot of capabilities.
Thank you.
I have a question in fact, two questions.
Yeah.
So one is your agent, do we have zero shot learning? That is one thing. And another thing is when it is retrieving the information, how the agent can differentiate between generated information and as well as the retrieved facts. So how it will be distinguishing between the relevance of these when it is retrieving such kind of information.
So the question is, how is it distinguished between the generated data versus
retrieved facts?
retrieved facts. So it's part of the training, right? So we instruct as part of the training, we instruct the agent to, when it's presenting data, it is only presenting data from the APIs, no other data. And you can train it to do that, and you can put the guardrails to do that. And all that is instructed through English, but you have to train it. And it will follow the training.
Oh, and the other one was zero shooter.
Say that again?
Zero shooter learning kind of.
Right now what we are doing is the learning is pretty simple. We have a YAML file in the backend where all the instructions are, right? Now, when you want to train beyond that, you can actually put the context in the chat, right? If you want to do that. In that case, you need to remember that, when I do a task, you have to again set the context again, right? So if you're training through the chat, when you ask the agent to do a job, you need to make sure that the same context you set in that job context also. And we do that in our interface. There is an option when you chat, and let's say you reach the point where you say, this is good, I like this, the way you did this, I want to push it and create a job. You can take the full context and convert that into a job. So the instructions are not completely in the YAML. You put some context and additional instructions through the chat. You can do that as well. All right?
Thank you.
So you said it's more of a I'm not a technical guy first of all.
Yeah. Okay.
More of a React code-based system, but at the same time it's a complete English-driven one. So and at the same time I understand that you need enough data to be trained for you to be able to read and interpret the data. So in the given example that you said you were you were placing some order and at the same time you were able to see that there is a shortfall in the stuff. Can't it be upfront identify it that because the material has to be replenished at some point in time, so that you don't come across the situation where you are not able to meet the order of a particular test.
Good question. See, what we did here is we simulated that. In a real situation, you will ask the agent to go and fix it on a daily basis, so that the scenario will not arise. For the demo, we have to do it, right? We have to simulate that. But in real situation, what you'll do is, in this case, the very first day you create the agent, you'll say, okay, I have this order issue. I don't have an order restocking automated. I want you to do it, right? So you will ask the agent to say, okay, here is how you will do it. You go and pull all the orders, check if anything is below 5, and I want you to send an email to inventory or call another API and place the order. And you will say that on the first day, and then you will say, okay, do this every day at 5 o'clock. And you will do that. Right? And again, all without any code. That's it. Thanks. Any other questions, anyone? So now what we're going to do is we're going to move on to a few more of the agents that we have, and Anil and team will show the demo.
As I said, let me scan through these, some of the agents out here. So we have a FinOps agent, as I said, which can connect to your cloud account and then get the billing information, analyze it, and suggest optimization and other things. So that's one. And we have, this is the Odoo integration agent, because we used Odoo as the ERP system, where the customer wanted to take invoices, vendor invoices from the emails as attachments, read that, and then extract the information from that, and then go back to the Odoo inventory system, check whether the vendor and the list items are there or not. If everything is okay, it is to create directly the invoice, If it's not there, it used to keep it in the draft. So this was another agent which we created. And then this is for a particular client. Tracker is the chat with your ticketing system. So you may be using different ticketing systems. So we created a chat interface where you can, for example, the project manager can ask like, which are the tickets due today? So you can, get that information from the ticketing system. Or you can ask, go and create a ticket for this person, assign this person, it does it. And we also integrated the ticketing system with the L1 support, which is the IT support. Like technical support guys are there, L1 support guys. So they usually support the users with fixing their problems in the internet or in the PC, laptop, regular issues. So the agent can recommend the different steps of solving it. So let me go to that and show you. Help desk. So always you can ask, what can you do for me? That's one way to understand, because the agent connects to a real application, and we integrated it through some APIs, so it knows what other things it can do. So let me say like take one of this. So I just took this. So it's saying like I'm experiencing some slow performance in my laptop or desktop. So it's like instead of you calling an L1 support guy and telling them, okay, I have a problem. So I asked this. So it recommended multiple options. First you check your task manager and see whether whether you have a high CPU memory usage or not, or you can try restarting your system and try it out. Close some of the unused applications. If you have any disk full, clean up your disk and make space to run it. It could be a virus problem, so run a virus scanner. So it suggests certain things. And if you're not happy, so the last point is if you are tried all these above steps and are still experiencing a problem, can I escalate the issue for further assistance? So I'm saying yes, a ticket for me. So this now is integrated with the ticketing system. So it goes and creates a ticket there. So the ticket number is, I got the ticket number, which is, A8235. I got the ticket number. So let's go to a sample. So this is one of our ticketing system. Let me go and check here. So you can see this is now created there. So it already created. And you can assign now the L2 can look into it and then resolve it there. So this is one of the agent. Let me go back again. So help desk we talked about, and we also integrated with HubSpot. This is an HR agent. So let me ask what can you do for me? So this is just to give you an idea what applications or in what areas, what domains you can use this. So this is again connecting to the HRM system. You can retrieve the employees information, you can get the department's details, salary of employees, and their job and other things. So let me ask what are the departments? So expecting to get the list of departments. So again, you can define workflows let's say the HR manager in the morning at let's say 9:05 asking who are all late today. So it gives a list and saying send a memo. Like we did, send an email or a memo to them. So it sends a memo or email to them. And then I can say okay, now you just do this every day at 9:10. So every day, then the agent will check, okay, anybody is late today, and then if somebody is late, take the list and send the memo to them. So these are the departments. So I can ask get the department D001. So I can keep asking department employees their employment history, what was their previous department, who is the manager of the department. All those things can be asked in the HR side. So there's an HR assistant. So it came back with all the employee details. Now I can drill down, for that employee I can get the details, their employment history, who's their manager. I can ask multiple questions. So that's an HR agent. So Webshop we already discussed. We also use agents for our internal purpose, like the marketing and sales people use agents for creating proposals, creating pricing, and then analyzing the requirements. So we have agents for sales as well as price calculators out there. Let me take an SRE agent. So we just missed to tell you, all these things are running in we have an AI lab, which is our own lab, our own hardware, which is, set in Boston. So where he is, so it's managed there. And all these things are running there, not outside or cloud or anywhere else. So now, so I can ask, so SRE, the features of SRE agent is it can get you, let's say you have a big cluster running there, the infrastructure, you can get node level details, you can get pod level details. For an application, you can ask, the log. For a specific time, you can ask for a log. So currently I'm asking okay, I had a problem on April 24th, and the problem was, one of the application we use, Airflow we use, had a problem. So, find out, bring me those log on that date, that time, take the logs and find out if there are any errors during that time. If there are any errors now, can you suggest, fixes? How do I fix it? So this is very much useful for application developers as well as, SRE agents, SRE engineers. So it's a usual, in the production systems, whenever there is a problem, you can just query and then find out what happened in that application at that particular time. And this one we integrated with, the monitoring systems or the Prometheus, Grafana, dashboard, and then Greylog, etc. So that's integration. It just works here. So it's invoking those APIs. Logs are usually huge. So SRE, that's one of the SRE agents that we use. So actually we manage financial institutions like banks, etc. So we provide SRE services. So our SRE engineers do need to, create SRE reports every day or every week. So now we use the agent to go scan the infra, get all the details, and then provide the information. So here you can see, it has gone and fetched different type of errors. So there are 3 types of errors here: Airflow server logs. There are some errors. There is a different type of error here. With timestamp, you can see it's bringing in all the errors. So first one is, failed to execute a job, server not found. So it says the description of the error and, the root cause, which says, okay, likely the network issue could be due to a DNS misconfiguration. If that is the case, how do you fix it? Ensure that the DNS settings are correctly done. Or check network connectivity for external service. And there is another exception, failed with exception. So the root cause could be, the more details are missing. So it is asking still, you need to go and verify it. You can see here sick term error. It says like, okay, description is multiple workers received sick term signal leading to termination. Okay, this could be due to resource constraints. So, sometimes when you have, limitation on your resources, like memory, processor, etc., the process cannot run. So you need to either increase the, resource availability so that this can run. So it clearly fixed it, and then, actually this was a problem, and we went and fixed it, and it resolved the issue. Connection refused. So this is how, any SRE person, an engineer, can easily use this to analyze logs. So let me take into the SRE report part of it. So this is, as I said, like this is the one, our engineers used to do. It's SRE report for last 7 days. Here, there are a checklist of items they used to go and check. So this agent is trained with those list of items. And the report, the customers wanted in a specific format. So the format is also given. Finally the result has to be in that format. That's also given. So this now connects and get the information. This will give you the pod level, node level, all the information there.
Do you think that there's a limitation to this one? Because I am stipulating a condition as to how it should be framed. At the same time, it may have its own inherent capability to retrieve the data, but whatever is told to do, it's doing. Whereas it could be in a position to intelligently retrieve the data in a more sophisticated manner. And are we not restricting? Are we in a way restricting it?
No. See, in enterprises, when you work with an enterprise in a particular role, you're supposed to do certain things, right? So most of the enterprises think the other way. Am I giving more information or more data? The data privacy is a concern for them, mostly. Because now, the thing in a simple way, it's, you're chatting with your enterprise data. So as she said, like the authentication and authorization is very important. If I have the role, I can access the data. Now, if I don't want in a specific format, it's fine. If I want, I can. And once you got the data, you can further ask, chat and ask, let's say it came in a tabular form. I can say, I want a pie chart, or I want a bar chart representation of this. It will do that. Or I want to convert this to a PDF file. It can do that. So that's the general facility is there already. Okay, so this has bring in all the information. You can see that. So we have, first checking any certificates are expiring or not. That's the only thing it came here. So it used to bring all the nodes, node level. Let me see, node level. Let me get this. So this is the last 24 hours CPU and memory usage. So when issues come, you can also go and check the, like the error logs. That's one area you will verify if there are errors or not. Similarly, you can also go and check the utilization. Let it come. Okay. So, so the idea is like, we have a virtual appliance or a platform which can be deployed within your network, which has the required, AI models plus tools built into it. So all your data is within your network, within your account, so you can use it there. Or if you want to use an external model, there is an option to connect to the external services and use it. Or if you want to deploy it within your Azure or AWS account with the GPU service, that also can be done. So you can see here now. So now for each of the applications, it tells you the average CPU utilization, CPU memory utilization, and you can see here the other ports where, how much is, and it can also finally tell you if any of the CPU or memory utilization is above a threshold. It will also tell you, okay, this is going beyond a limit, and then you take some action. So it can also find out anomalies and then report it back to you. All right. So I just conclude here. So we have more agents. CodeGuard is an agent which can analyze the code. Basically, we do some big migration projects from .NET Framework to .NET Core. So this migration project, we use the agent to analyze the code repo and then find out the source code, which libraries or which code need change, what change has to be done, and then we get a report of that. And based on the report, we can do the code migration, the framework migration. And we have a pre-sales agent, as I said. ImageGuard is like we create container images. We verify those container images using this. And NovaGuard is an insurance policy agent. This is a query builder for a particular customer where they wanted to give natural language and convert it into a specific query of, which is used in their system. AutoPhoenix is the auto loan system where you can get your installments, etc. And it also has a feature wherein you can initiate a reminder call, call that customer and remind, okay, your EMI is due. It will do that. And if the customer gives any response back, it can be recorded and it can be again transcribed back to the English language and added with the database. Okay, these are some of the agents. So I think you got a fair idea of what it does. So what we are looking for is like, if you need more information, definitely you can connect with us. And there could be CTOs, CXOs from different companies. We are also looking for strategic partners. So we have this platform. We usually, work with partners, mostly with partners in, providing services. Even for our previous products, like we have 3 other, platforms, which are for DevOps platforms like AppC, DataC, and ManageC. And this is the 4th one. So anyone is interested also, please connect with us. If you have further questions, Rejith is here, I'm here, we can discuss on it. And
I have 2 questions on the SRE agent. So one thing is like the logs which are collecting from different systems, like how long those logs collected, it can be saved internally within the agent. For example, can it replace like log aggregators like SolarWinds or something like that? No.
So actually it connects to a log aggregator like Greylog.
Mm-hmm.
It collects all the logs from different applications.
Not directly from the systems.
No, based on the, usually you don't get access to the direct production system.
Because of the role-based access.
And the logs also managed in special ways, like you mask certain, key information, etc. And then it is archived. Different enterprises have different retention period. So banks do need to keep, I think, 180 days or so. So, you will have the log for that duration.
Yeah, that's one. Another thing is like you said, connecting through APIs, for example, these kind of systems. So the same way, for example, if it can connect to like VMware systems, realize automation or VRA or something, or instead of going through Ansible or Terraform kind of instructions like that, English like direct commands like this, can be able to spin up a VM in a vCenter server or something like that. Is that possible?
IAC, right? Infrastructure as code. So you want to give an instruction and then convert that into the corresponding command and then execute.
Yeah.
That's the one we said, like we already did one.
Yeah, that is very interesting because say we can reduce a lot of overhead using Ansible or Terraform kind of automation platforms if this really works.
The translations. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right.
One question.
Sure.
That is like we saw from the UI interface aspect how we are using. But how difficult is the integration aspect, right? I mean, we already have systems that are built in our enterprises, so how difficult is it to do this integration?
So when we go to an enterprise, so first we understand, the application, the API. So that's our metadata, right? So if the data is not proper, the API documentation, etc., is not proper, we need to do the augmentation part of it. So that we do. And then once that is understood, we will take around 4 to 6 weeks to make the system, integrated and up and running. But in 2 weeks, you can see it running. But then the rest of the time is basically we iterate and then basically adding those, instructions for fine tuning it, so that in 4 to 6 weeks it will be up and running. That's it.
So any changes you said it's deployed within our ecosystem.
Yeah.
So if you have to standard integrations might be okay, but every organization will differ with how they kind of implement it, right? Like even if you take a standard system like a Salesforce, there's a lot of internal things that you write to kind of make it different, right? So how do you push changes if you have to update the model that you provide?
Yeah, that's where he said we have version control. So when, let's say the other application, the API or some of the functionalities changed, based on that, ideally the APIs will change. So we can update our, the policy or the training document instructions based on the new version, and we can release a new one. It's again version control. And it's all deployed as containers, and you can scale it up. All that feature is built in there. And it has, again, built-in observability. It has built-in auditability, and then, all the monitoring, etc. Everything is inbuilt.
And if you have more questions or more clarifications needed, you can just post it in our this page feedback form. So you can just scan it and post it there. We are open to discuss on that even after the session. And we have refreshments arranged for you. So at that time also, our team is there. You can have more interactions. And if you want more clarifications, we are open to that. And coming to the last part, I thank everyone, each one of you, on behalf of Cloud Control and Startup Mission for participating with us in this event and making this as a massive success. And we also can collaborate after this also. We are not stopping it here. The race is on, and we are there to help you to clarify all your doubts. And one more thing, I request all of you to be present here after this session to have a photograph so that we can make this event memorable and we can carry forward from there. And I thank Startup Mission also for supporting us, engaging with us for arranging this event. And I thank Technopark Travancore also for giving us an opportunity for arranging this event and engaging with us to invite you all for this event. Thank you all. Thank you very much. And last but not the least, we have a gift for you as a token of appreciation for participating in this event. So kindly do collect those also. Thank you.